Sarah, you told me that you worked for CompUSA,
Yes.
and you had a whole other life, a whole other career before this became your life's work. Tell me about that.
My life before what I do now was quite interesting. I had the opportunity to close offshore outsourcing deals for a offshore outsourcing company, and CompUSA. I had the opportunity to sell to the MIS directors, and I really didn't have a lot of technological background, but I was able to communicate to people what their needs were and then supply them with what they needed. So it was quite a different place to be than where I am now.
You had a personal experience that sort of drew you into this. I don't know if it's fair to say like drew you into yourself, but sort of brought you on a different direction than you might have anticipated. May I know about that?
So I had a chance encounter with a gentleman at CompUSA. And this encounter opened me up to the fact that there is life on the other side, that there are connections with people who can assist us, and that God is always present. And this chance encounter introduced me to the fact that there's a power within all of us that allows us to find our inner peace and our inner connection with God. And that's what awakened me back in CompUSA when I met this strange man at a computer store.
Did your life do a 180?
It did a 360. It was completely different. It was a world I was totally unfamiliar with. Raised Catholic, spending time in church, and then choosing Catholicism and Christianity as my path. He opened me up to a world that really was in alignment with all the teachings that I was introduced to through Catholicism and Christianity. But it gave me a different understanding that there was an energy, a presence that was always with us, and that was God. And God is not always out there. God is within us. And that awakened a spark within me to always be of service to others, which was my little girl dream, to always be of service to others.
I think some people would be surprised, and I'm kind of surprised that you have that Catholic background and that's still a part of your faith and who you are, because some people think that this and that religion don't belong together or can't coexist. So what do you say to the person who has that feeling?
For someone who has that feeling, that's part of our conditioned belief, again, that God is on the outside and that we don't have the same powers that God does. I'm not saying that I am God, but the power of God and God's authority works through me. And when I choose to access that information and that guidance, I can be of service to others. I can be of service to myself. I can find peace in times of chaos and tribulations. So I've been on this journey of empowering other people, because someone who looks at religion as a roadmap and doesn't look within themselves to find out how they can grow and what they can do to shift. So they have to believe that all the teachings in the Bible were teachings to teach them how to. The Bible is the biggest how-to book ever created. Jesus said, "You will do these miracles I have done and many more." Go out and teach, go out and prophesy, go out and heal. So why can't we tap into that? We can, of course we can.
Is that something that you have had your whole life, this ability, or is it something that you developed, or both?
I think it's a little of both. I believe I was connected in a way that was unfamiliar to me as far as a spiritual practice or connecting to people on the other side or connecting to God. But we all have imaginary friends. You have had imaginary friends. And we've all talked to our imaginary friends. And some of our imaginary friends are beings that have been assisting us and we just didn't know. We were closed off to that. Our parents did their best. They taught us to pay attention to me. You need me. I need to feed you. I need to clothe you. You need to follow our rules. But we've always had this external guidance. So that was always present for me. And then it got stimulated and awakened, and I took on this mission.
Someone might be hearing this or hear your story and say, well, she was a hell of a good salesperson before. She knew marketing, and she knew how to pitch, and she knew how to spin.
Correct.
She's using that same skill set in this capacity, and some people think that all of this is a big fraud.
I know they do, and for them, doubt will keep them separated from God even more, because when you doubt that there's a divine power within, then you're not experiencing the full potential that you have as an individual. But in all things, isn't there fraud in everything? There can be fraud in everything. So you have to look at the person that you're interacting with and first ask your own gut feeling. Do I trust them? Do I feel aligned with them? People have learn to trust me. They build a relationship with me. I've been here for 17 years. So yes, I have this amazing ability to market. I could sell shoes to Jesus, literally. But the best part I love about connecting with people is to be of service to them and to access information that I couldn't possibly know. There's no records, there's nothing for me to look up. I don't know the person before I see them. On the radio, I have this magnificent ability to just hear their voice, and the tone and the frequency of their voice takes me into the journey of their soul, and I see the aspects and the destiny that's there for them, and I help them access that and make it happen.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
You're an empath?
I am an empath, I'm a medium, I'm a spiritual advisor, and I have some healing energy that runs through me. People can feel the frequency, they can feel the glow. It's what they call the presence.
Checking a lot of boxes here.
Checking a lot.
Psychic, medium,
Correct.
empath. How many times does it happen, I don't know, in a month where someone says, oh, Miss Cleo, or where the stigma of the hotlines from the 90s and the early 2000s sort of appears in your world and someone's like, you're just like Miss Cleo?
That's only happened to me once.
Tell me about it.
It was a person who was connected to me in my family realm, and they said, what do you mean you're going to give readings? You mean like Miss Cleo? And I laughed and I said, no, not like Miss Cleo. I'm going to access the information. I'm going to assist people on their path. And they said, well, how are you going to do that? And I said, I just get this knowing, this feeling. I tune into the energy, the vortex around them, and I have that connection. You didn't know me in that capacity. I didn't know me in that capacity. But now that I've awakened this opportunity to make the connection, I'm fully present with a person's journey. And I share it with them so they can make the choices for their own free will. And so the person was still a non-believer, an own family member. So that's kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. But now they've been able to watch from afar mm-hmm. and truly see the success that we've accomplished here at my center. We've learned that we can work with people on all different walks, from all different walks of life, and assist them on their personal journey.
Is there a stigma still for people who are doing this professionally? This is your business, it's your
Correct.
gift, but it's your business.
Correct.
Is there a stigma there?
There will always be a stigma. There will always be a stigma because many people don't believe it's possible that you can access the realms of the higher realms and bring information to someone. And when people see you monetize it, then they question that. So that's one of the reasons why I have a national radio show. People call in, it's 14 years this year, that people call in from all over the country, all over the world now, thanks to social media, and I answer their questions for free. There is no financial exchange. And even here at my center, we keep everything very reasonably priced and accessible to people. And I teach, and my classes are just a small amount of money for them to pay to take the class. So we are truly here to empower people and, of course, keep the lights on.
Do you ever meet someone who says they have psychic ability or says that they have a gift and call bullshit on them? Do you ever think when you meet somebody, this person doesn't have it?
Well, I have students, and I've been training my students to access that information. I was trained, but I didn't realize I was being trained. I was just sitting in the energy of my spiritual teacher, not recognizing he was actually training me for my future, which he saw. But there have been people that I've met, and they've sat there and they said they're psychic, and they told me things, and it didn't resonate with me, and it didn't feel like they were accessing information from the higher realms. So you could call it whatever label you want, but to me, I just didn't feel that they were connected. But maybe they just weren't connected to my guides. Maybe my guides didn't want to let them into my energy. That happens sometimes. Not everyone who sits across from someone is truly meant to read them. Some people are not able to be read by someone because of the differences in the vibration, and it may not be a direct hit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see your point. Is there anybody, we were talking about this before I got you on camera, but makes big decisions based on your guidance and on your counsel? Like they come to you and they say, I don't know if I should marry this guy. I want to talk to Sarah first. Or I don't know if I should take this new job. I want to talk to Sarah first. These are big life decisions.
They are.
And to consult a psychic, to consult a medium about them, some of the naysayers might be like, that's absolutely ridiculous. Do you have clients like that?
Most of my clients.
Got to
Most of
talk
my
to Sarah first before they do anything major.
They like to, yes, they do. And I'm their sounding board. It is a opportunity for them to tune into what they already know. I'm basically connecting the dots in the journey of their life. I'm showing them what resonates with them. And they come back and they say, you were exactly right. I had this fabulous reading with this woman, and she had a coworker slash assistant. And I said, you have to watch your back. You're going to be betrayed in this situation. And she said, oh no, Sarah, that would never happen. So-and-so would never betray me. And I said, okay, I just want you to watch your back. Well, 2 months later, she ends up in the hospital, and the girl did betray her and literally tried to take her role. So sometimes when I'm accessing the information, I can see things beyond what the person is willing to recognize. You know, we all tend to attract people for particular reasons and their lessons. And so I'm here to help people make choices on their journey. I'm here to help them learn their lessons and help them follow their own intuition. Sometimes I tell people what they are not expecting to hear. And so I say, take it under advisement. You have free will. So free will always reign. But remember this and look for the clues and make the choice that sits the best in your heart and in your intuition. That's how I like to address people when they're making their own choices, but seek me to assist them.
May I know a little bit about your process when you're doing a reading for someone? Do you see images? I'm not trying to be hokey or disrespectful.
Oh, no.
Do you hear voices? How are you led down a path, and how are you able to advise someone, and what do you see and hear when you're with them and you're trying to read them?
So one of the first things I do is I look up, and I'm sure people wonder, what is she looking at? And I'm looking at a tunnel of light that's a vortex of energy. And based on the information that I access, I'm pulling down bits and pieces. So I'm seeing, I'm feeling, I'm hearing. I then often pick up a pen. And with my pen, I begin to scribble all different points of paper, notes all over the place. Words, dates, times, letters, scribbling lines that are actually information that is connected to them. And then I look at it, and then I begin to talk to them. And I tell them what I see in their soul. I tell them where they are in the journey of their life. I tell them where they've been, and I'm telling them what I see coming for them and what the crossroads and choices are going to be and what to look for, and again, to follow their own inner guidance.
Are you able to turn it off? Let's say you want to go out with some friends to a restaurant or to a movie, I don't know. Are you able to just be out in the world and not tap into that? Because I'm
Absolutely.
sure you need Sarah time where you're not, inundated with that information.
Yes.
How do you do that?
I do. I turn it off. I go into a place, whether I'm food shopping, and it's literally like a taxi driver for me. I have such a powerful team of guides, assistants, beings that are being with me. My guides, my angels, my spiritual teacher, my relatives on the other side. So I tell them, I'm going food shopping, I'm going to Publix. Unless there's a crisis, please don't disturb me. And I go about my business and I talk to people. And when I'm talking to someone, I'm not thinking or saying to myself, what's going on in their relationship? That's none of my business. I do not have the right to go up to someone, nor do I think someone should, and begin blurting out information they don't have access to. They don't have permission for that. When I sit down with someone, say I were to sit down with you, you would give me your permission to read you. I then would get your permission from your guides and your angels, and then and only then can I give you the access that is available in your soul's journey from God. Mm-hmm. That's how I work. So I have plenty of time off when I'm not working, but I am working a good part of the day.
Now, I'm not trying to be a wise guy, but I hear a voice in my head of somebody at home, and they're like, why don't you ask her what the next Powerball ticket numbers are going to be, Mike? I bet you get that a lot. What do you say?
I say I've won the lottery many times, so it's a great blessing to be able to know, and some of my radio listeners will tell you that I've given them numbers and they've gone out and played, and they have been successful. Now, I have not mastered the 6 numbers, so I'm sorry I can't give us that, but I am really good at the cash 3. And so I'm able to see the numbers as they're supposed to come. And it's a gift I've had ever since I can remember. And matter of fact, my son had an opportunity to witness it with me when he was little. We would actually know the balls that were going to come up. And when he was 2 years old, he would sit there with the paper and go, I think we're going to win this one, Mommy. Let's get our coat and go get the money. And we would be at ball number 2, and he already knew we were going to win. So it's been a journey. I really was blessed to have the assistance of the universe to win. So I believe that we all have that extra guidance available, and we can access the spigots of abundance the universe has for us. We just need to be willing to listen to the voice. So when I get the pick 6, I'll let you know, Mike.
Okay. Max wants to know too. We play every week, sometimes more than we should.
Yes. Well, play.
What other questions do you think I should be asking you? You know the endpoint for the story. You know that it's about Miss Cleo and the telephone hotlines. You know that I spoke to a guy who wanted to see how easy it was to become a telephone psychic. And I have Dave Ehrenberg in the story, prosecutor who took Miss Cleo to court. And he told me, Mike, these people were just desperate for someone to talk to and for someone to listen to them. And they were taken for a ride. So you know
Correct.
What is coming before you in this story. So what do you think I ought to ask you, or what should we talk about here? Because you're the antithesis to the first part of the story.
So the first part of the story talks about something that we can find in many avenues of people's careers and work and journeys. The first part of the story talks about people who are willing to feed off of people's vulnerability, their insecurities, their hurt, their pain. Don't we see it in the elderly? Don't we see it in the youth? We see it in all walks of life. So to target psychics because of a choice or a business model that was created in the 90s is really not fair. That means that every other lawyer may be crooked, or every other person in the world who's working with the elderly is out to steal or take advantage, or everyone on online dating is ready to catfish and take you for a ride and your money and then just leave you hanging. Do those things happen? They do happen. However, you have to judge the character of the person. Now, when we're dealing with people who are vulnerable, we have to be gentle. And that's why I love when you connect with someone, you have to go in their soul. Because, Mike, let's say you had a bad morning, and I look in your energy and there's things that are off. I may say you had a bad morning, there was a disruption in the household, I don't see things working out for you, I see a problem. That's what people do sometimes when they read the energy. And that may be indicative of what's going on at that moment, but that's not the journey. I was really fortunate enough to have a young man come up from New York, or down from New York, I should say. I'm so used to going up, but down from New York, and he shared with me that his uncle had sent him here. And he was trying to become a pharmacist, and he was studying pharmacy, and he was having trouble passing the test. And so I gave him some tips and some tools, and I helped him tune in and tap into his own personal self-worth and his ability to access higher consciousness, access the divine intelligence, and remember the answers to take the test and finally pass. And we're working on the relationship aspects for him as well. He was quite broken when he came to me. Well, several weeks later, when we were on another session, he shared with me how he came to find me. And I said, well, how did your uncle refer you to me? Who's your uncle? What was the story? And he said, you know, my uncle was ready to leave his wife. They were ready to break up. It was a difficult time in their marriage. But you looked beyond where they were, and you gave him hope and gave him the tips to mend the relationship and to find a better journey. And he's still married because of you. And I thought that you would be the person that I should trust to assist me where I am at my juncture. So that's how I was able to help him. So, Mike, yes, there are people who can prey on anyone. And we all are vulnerable. So we have to look inside of ourselves and ask ourselves, does this feel right? Is this really what I think God has for me? There's a big plan. We're only getting an aspect of it because we're living and driven by the world. And the world has conditioned us to go to the next thing, the next level. Before we began filming, you were sharing all the different journeys that you've had in your experiences. So think of all the things that you've been chasing and looking for. And then we finally find that nugget of, this is where I belong. I'm there. I'm where I belong. I'm where I'm meant to be, to really help mankind and to make a difference. And my goal what drives me every day, that allows me to sit with so many people, is because I want to assist them to find that place that they belong. Because there's no place like home, and that's within them.
What if somebody doesn't want to know too far ahead into their future? I'm trying to think of a good way to frame this question. But they don't want to know what's going to happen years from now. They have a short-term problem or a short-term issue, like something's coming up this month or something's coming up this week.
Right.
Can you cater your consultation with them and only give them the information that they're looking for, or is it then on you to say, okay, well, I'm also getting something that you need to know about years out? Are you able to work with them and only give them information that they want, or do you say, no, I got to give you everything that I'm getting?
I have to give them what I get. However, the universe, the guides, the angels, God, they know what they need. So if someone's fixated on where they are, sometimes it's because they're being myopic. They can't look beyond where they are. So we will address where they are in the moment and explain to them ideally what has brought them there and what their choices are in the immediate future. What's the right next move? But we'll also give them a little spin out, as I call it. Be on the lookout for. Take notice of. And when you see that and feel that, just know that you're on the right step, or there's going to be a change coming around that time. So be open, and if it doesn't feel good for you, then check in with yourself and then make your choice. The universe, God, will never give us more than we can handle. We can always handle what's given. And we follow the binds of where someone wants to be, their boundaries, and then we follow the guidance from Spirit always.
Do you ever have to give somebody disappointing news or something that's hard for them to hear?
I have, especially in matters of the heart. Matters
Romance?
of the heart, people don't want to hear about their romance not working out. So what does Spirit give me? Spirit gives me clues to share with them to look out for. Kind of like that lovely woman who didn't think her coworker/assistant would ever betray her. She didn't want to hear that, and she literally said she left here thinking I was crazy. But I wasn't crazy. It was what was there in the energy, and we wanted to prevent something from catching her off guard. So when it unfolded, she was able to recoup and regain her footing, and everything ended up in her favor. Same with matters of the heart. Why do we want someone who's in love with someone who's not healthy to fall into a trap of a relationship that's only going to be a pattern, a repeat of where they've been? Perhaps something dysfunctional, something that's not honoring them as a human being. So we give them the clues as to what to look for. I had a conversation with someone yesterday, and she's really excited about someone she just met. And she said to me, oh, I wasn't expecting you to say that about him. And I said, well, just pay attention. It's a little young. It's a little new for you to be planning your wedding. So pay attention and see, does it resonate with you 6 months from now, after the honeymoon phase? Then we'll see what we're going to do next. And I can't tell them what to do, but I can tell them what to look for.
All right, lightning round, Sarah. I'm going to fire off a couple at you.
Go ahead.
What's the biggest misconception about what you do?
That we are fake, that we are accessing information but don't really know what we're talking about. That's the biggest misconception. And the word fortune teller, that really needs to go back into like the 1800s. I'm not a fortune teller. I am really here to help people align with God and find their path.
I would think more women come to see you than men, right or wrong?
More women do come to see me, but I do see a lot of men.
Why do you think that is? What do you think? Are women more open to this than men?
Women are more open because they're in tune with their feminine side, which attunes them to their emotional side, which then attunes them to their intuition. Women are kind of psychic naturally. That's why you guys can't get away with much. However, I do have a lot of men who are opening up more and more and understanding that they need assistance. And I do have men come to me for their financial decisions and how to navigate things having to do with their businesses. And here's where my background in business comes in handy. I can access the information, the data that I know in the physical world, and blend it with what I'm giving from Spirit and present it to them in a very logical left brain manner. So most men find me very relatable. because I can speak their language. It's not all foo-foo and, woo-woo. It's just a lot of information that Spirit gives me. Sometimes I'm even shocked at some of the facts they give me that I have no knowledge of.
I'm sure you resent being asked, but I'm just thinking of all of the questions the viewer at home would say. What about when someone tells you, prove it? I don't believe you. Prove it. What do you do?
Well, when someone sits there with that stance, and there have been some people who are like, okay, show me, little girl. I'm like, okay, we're going to show you. So I'll ask them to just be as open as possible. And then I begin to go up to the higher realm, and I look up. And I'll look up for a real long time because I want to make sure I access the highest information. And then I'll come down and I'll say something that I couldn't possibly know. And then they soften. And then I say something else, and then they soften. And then we make a connection. I'm not here to impress anyone. I'm here to help you. And if you're seeking assistance, why would you want to put me and my back in the corner? Why wouldn't you want to access what I'm accessing? And if you don't think it's valid, then that's your own judgment. You're entitled to your own opinion. But I know people who thought I was crazy, and they came back a year later. One girl, she said it took 7 years, but everything started to happen just like that in the 7th year, and it unfolded. Until then, she was like, oh, Sarah didn't get that one right. But I did, because I accessed the information that was available. She just had to open up and allow it to come to her. We push away our blessings. We don't always allow them to come to us because we think things have to be a certain way. We humans are stubborn.
Is there anybody that we might be surprised by who has come to you for advice? Could be a caller into the show or someone that's seen you, like a famous person or a big-time decision maker, anybody that we would be like, there's no way that they consult a psychic.
Well, get ready. Everyone who's a big-time decision maker, everyone who's famous has consulted a psychic or a spiritual advisor. Everyone has them. However, you would be shocked at the people who have sat across from me, but because of confidentiality, I can't even give you a clue.
Okay. Last question. Why do this interview? Why say, yeah, Mike, I'll talk to you?
Mike, I want people to know that they have an opportunity to go within, follow their own guidance, trust their intuition, access their consciousness, tap into a universal power, and live their best possible life, and to heal the past. As humans, we have a lot of wounds, and each one of us has our own share of trauma, and to go back into the past, to be able to access that information, and understand why it happened through higher consciousness, and free ourselves from the pain of whatever we've experienced and still live a beautiful quality life. That's what my mission is, to assist people to find their joy and their happiness.
Thank you for doing the interview.